So since I came back home, life has been good in that department. Yeah. So the experience of living in China and back home is completely different. As you guys know, I moved to China in 2014, and yes, I've been coming home, but I think the longest I've been home since then was probably a month. Then I'll just be returning, right? So I moved back home in August, so I've been home for about 7 to 8 months. Yeah, and life was a bit tricky. I faced some challenges when I got home, and one of the challenges was reverse culture shock. Each time I was in some certain settings, I would feel a little bit out of place, and I wouldn't know how to engage in certain conversations, because there are some things that actually trended, or there are current affairs. There's just so many things that happened while I was still abroad, so I couldn't really engage in certain conversations when I was around people, right? So it was a bit challenging, and when I got home, I went through a bit of depression, because this is quite funny now, but it wasn't funny then. Life at home is slower than life in China. That's very obvious. China is a fast growing country. The economy is growing really fast, and life back home is somewhat slow. So I was literally on the fast lane, and I had to slow down my speed. It took time. It took about probably 2 to 3 months for me to actually say, okay, this is life, this is how it is. So you have to be okay with it. You need to stop feeling the way you are feeling. This is just how things are, and you have to be okay with it. For example, I had to renew my passport, and I booked my appointment while I was still in China at Home Affairs. So applying for my passport took like a couple of hours, right? It took like a couple of hours, not even a couple of hours. I was at Home Affairs, and I got my application done in about an hour or so, right? So people that were there without appointments are the ones that actually stayed there longer. So I got my application done, and my passport was out within like probably 7 days. Okay, so that was cool. I was like, oh, this is nice. This is nice, because the first time I applied for my passport, it took about 10 days, 2 weeks. So I think they're now faster. Right. Now I had to collect my passport, and I went there in the afternoon, because I was like, collection shouldn't be a problem, right? Because I'm just collecting and leaving. No, I got there and the queue was long. I got there around 11, and then around 3 o'clock, I was still in the queue, and they told us that they're about to knock off, so we should go home. And that time I'm still standing outside. That means there are more people that are queuing inside, waiting to collect maybe their passports, their birth certificates, their IDs, and all of that. Everybody that's collecting that is on the same queue, right? So now I had to return home that day. So I stood outside for about 4 hours waiting to collect my passport, and then I had to return again to go and collect it. And I got there very early in the morning that day. I think I got there around 7:30, and then I got my passport around 12 o'clock. So I waited for also like 4 hours to get my passport. I didn't understand, like, why would it take so long for me to collect my passport when it took a couple of minutes to apply for it? So that's one thing that I didn't understand. I'm like, why are things so slow at home? And they're telling us, oh, we're going for lunch, and then after lunch the service was slower. It was a bit hard for me to actually understand because I was like, man, in China, I could have gotten my documents on time. I've never even been in a place for hours without getting service and all of that. Like, if I want to get my police clearance, I can get it in 48 hours, you know, that kind of thing. So I had to stop myself from comparing China and home because it's not the same. Life back home is very slow and I had to adjust to that. It wasn't easy, but I had to do that for myself and my mental health. When you come back home after being away for a long time, you also realize that there are some friendships or some relationships that you used to have before you moved and that are no longer existent, if you get what I mean. They no longer exist. So you come home and then you're just like, oh, some of your friends who used to be around you back then are no longer around because also we have grown. So you find that maybe you still do have friends, but they all live in different areas. You are no longer in the same area. And then also if you want to hang out with your friends, they're like, oh, I have to be at work, or oh, I have to take care of my kid, oh, I have to travel for work. You know, life has changed because now we are adults. Like we are all grown. Because when I left, it was like a long time ago. We were still kids. None of my friends were married. None of my friends had kids. So every time you just wanna meet up, we just meet up without even having any excuses, you know? So now you come back and life has changed. You have to understand that these people have their lives here. Like the same way I am busy when I'm in China, they are busy when they're here. So you have to be okay with it. And when I was in social settings, sometimes I realized that I cannot engage in certain conversations because some of the things that people are talking about are things that happened while I was still abroad. So that's what happened. You feel a bit out of place when you are around people. I had to deal with power cuts, load shedding. Oh my God, I have not experienced this in years. There's a time we did not have power the whole day. I think we had a power cut from probably like 9 o'clock until like 6 p.m. and it was cold. You know, August is still a bit of a cold month. So I was complaining on my WhatsApp statuses and saying, oh guys, there's no power. Oh, I don't know what to do with myself. And you know what? I had to make peace with that. Like I had to come back to myself and say, hey girl, you are back home and this is life. This is life. This is how people are living. You should stop complaining because there's nothing you can do about it. So yeah, I had to get used to that as well. And I lived without Wi-Fi for a couple of days. It was really hard because I depend so much on the internet. Like, you know, you guys know how life is in China. You can literally not live without the internet in China. I think the internet is literally running the country. So now you come home and you realize like, oh, people are literally living without this thing. So it was a bit hard for me as well to live without Wi-Fi. But after we got it installed, I became a bit calm. Like I became a bit calm, even though I wasn't using the internet like I was using it in China. It was a bit helpful in terms of my mental well-being. I know this sounds crazy, but guys, it is the truth. I started feeling better after having Wi-Fi installed at home. One other matter that I was facing, one other struggle that I was facing was the price of food. Right, so food is not as expensive, right? I can't say food is that expensive, right? But what happened was that I started comparing prices of certain things with, like, maybe I'd say, oh, eggs don't cost this much in China. Chicken doesn't cost this much in China. Vegetables don't cost this much in China. Why are these things so expensive, right? And now when I buy food, I have to make sure that I buy enough for myself and my family, right? So of course we share the bills. Like sometimes my mom will buy, sometimes my sister will buy, sometimes I will buy. But every time I had to buy food, I had to make sure that whatever it is that I'm craving, I need to make sure that I can also cater for my family, right? So obviously the cost of food for me was a bit more higher than it is when I'm in China, than it was, past tense, when I was in China, okay? So yeah, and I think you guys know how much I used to, if you've watched my vlogs from when I was still in China, I used to talk about how I do not like going grocery shopping. And I came back home and I had to, every time something is missing in the house, I have to go to the shops to buy it, or just go to the shops and buy everything so that I don't have to go to the shops again to buy. So online shopping is not a big thing yet, but in some cities, if you are in places like Johannesburg, you're in places like Cape Town, Pretoria, life is becoming easier. And I was quite impressed with that. Life is becoming easier. You can order, but it's always better to go to the shops to get everything that you need, because it's more expensive to order things online than to actually go to the shops to buy them, right? So I don't like going to the shops, and now having to go to the shops every time, that wasn't nice. It's still not nice. I'm still not enjoying it, and I don't think I'll ever enjoy going grocery shopping. I will never enjoy that. Even though I am a foodie, right? So I think, speaking of being a foodie, I like cooking different food on polka dots, right? I'm running a food blog on Instagram. If you haven't checked it out, please go and check it out and follow me. Anyways, so obviously my groceries are not like normal groceries, because I'm always trying to buy different stuff, right? So I noticed that seafood back home is very pricey, because I think a kg, is it a kg or 2 kgs? Maybe it's like 2 kgs, I'm not sure, of shrimp is about 200 rands. So I'm like, I'd rather eat oxtail than eat shrimp. Like I think I've only bought prawns once since I came back, because they were just so expensive. Fish is expensive. Like seafood in general is expensive back home, but meat isn't. So meat in China is expensive, like beef, lamb, those are expensive. Pork, chicken are cheaper, right? So here at home, I can eat meat, but I can't really eat seafood like I used to when I was in China, right? So those are the expenses. And I have one of my people here on YouTube who asked me about avocado. The price of avocado is like 20 bucks, one avocado. But I saw the other day when I went to the shops that you can buy 6 for like 80 bucks or 70 bucks. So yeah, avocado is quite pricey, because even in China it's like 20 kwai. So that's like double the price. So when I buy food, I plan like, okay, I am gonna cook this for polka dots this week. So when I cook that, or I'm gonna cook this for YouTube this week. But with YouTube it's different. It's just like, I can just eat anything on YouTube, but because polka dots is more of like aesthetics and recipes and all of that, I try to make sure that I eat different foods and I post different foods so that my audience doesn't get bored, right? Oh guys, I think I'm talking every time I mention the food topic. I go on and on and on, but I think you guys already have like a clear picture of the food and how my life became when I first came home. Now let's move on to the great part about being at home, okay? So it's nice being around people that actually genuinely love you, right? When you live abroad, you experience loneliness and depression and anxiety and all of those things. So you are home and you are literally in a safer space mentally, right? So that's one thing that I could say I have been enjoying since I came back home. I have been around people that I know genuinely love me, right? So that has been really, really, really great. I have also been speaking my language like every day, all day. I can just be speaking Sesotho without having to think, oh, this person doesn't understand me. If I speak my language, you know, it's nice. I'm free. Not that it's hard for me to always have to like speak English and Chinese, but it's nice just, you know, communicating freely. Like I can freely speak, I can mix the languages and my people can understand me. So it's really, really nice. Food wise, food is nice at home, guys. I've been enjoying food. I've gained a couple of kilos since I came back. Oh my God. It has been tough because I cannot not eat, okay? You guys know I'm a foodie, I love to eat. So since I came back home, life has been good in that department. We do have healthy food and organic food because people here farm, and yeah, you can just have some fruits and vegetables in your garden and you're good to go, right? But in China, it's different. Not everybody here at home is able to eat healthy because healthy food is also expensive, right? So I think that's why a lot of us end up eating unhealthy, right? In China, I'm more active. I walk more. I can afford healthy food. I think vegetables and fruits, you can find them in the market, and teas are very cheap. You can detox all the time, it's cheap. You can eat healthy food for a very low price. It's not the same as here back home. So being healthy at home is not cheap. That's one thing that I noticed. So I also noticed that, guys, when I came home, I realized that I don't know if it's a lifestyle issue, but I realized that a lot of people are really getting sick, especially with cancer. There's a lady that I met recently when I was in town. I was in the taxi and she was talking to me and she was telling me that she has cancer. And then last week, a cousin of mine posted her that she passed away. And what's really behind it could be our lifestyles and our ways of eating and all of that. And I realized that the reason Chinese people live for so long is because they are healthy. So I think that that's one thing that I also noticed when I got home, that we don't eat well. We rely so much on cars, we don't walk. For example, since I came back home, I can probably show you guys my circles, and at some point I wasn't even wearing my Apple Watch because I felt like there's no need for this. But also I was like, I'm not active. I'm not as active as I am when I'm in China. So I realized that that's something that we need to work on as a country, as a nation. Like, we need to start becoming more healthy in terms of food and fitness. So yeah, guys, I think that this video is kind of long now, but I just wanted to tell you guys that life was a bit tricky for me when I first came. Things are better now. Like, things are really better. I've adjusted to the life here. I would say that I can now relate to a lot of conversations. I can engage. I can be in social spaces without a problem, without feeling out of place. yeah, but obviously I kind of think differently because I've lived in a different place. And yeah, cheers to more traveling. I would say safety wise, China takes it for me, okay? Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. This is a food, lifestyle, and travel channels, in case you don't know, in case you're new here. Please do subscribe, comment down below, ring the notification bell so that you don't miss any new uploads. And thank you so much for tuning in, and I'm gonna catch you in my next video. Bye.